A study by the Ministry of Justice found nearly 50% of female and 21% of male prisoners were reported to have attempted suicide. In comparison, the figure is much higher than in the general UK population, as only 6% of them have been reported. But an Oxford charity is suggesting yoga sessions could lower these figures.
A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-harming, a lot of suicide happens in prison, far higher than on the outside. So yoga and meditation can help with all of these things. If people aren't too bad, if they're not right at the very bottom, then it can be a useful practice. The way that yoga works, it works with the breath on a very deep level, and it works with all the systems of the body. So anything that helps people to sleep better. And the thing that people say most frequently in prison after their first yoga session is that they slept like they never had before, like they haven't in a long time slept so well.
In the UK, over 85,000 criminals are detained in prison, each serving sentences for low to high category crimes. Sam Settle runs yoga sessions inside prisons and says guilt can be very difficult for offenders.
If you have someone who has committed various crimes, hurt members of his family through his actions, and maybe brought shame and so on to the family, that's a lot to carry around. And that's very much part of the time that people do, is the guilt and the shame and the regret at having hurt people. Yoga and meditation can help people find a bit of stillness inside themselves. And that stillness and centeredness, it doesn't make the feelings go away, or the regret or the fear about the future or anxiety. It doesn't make all of those go away, but it gives you a little more space.
Yoga has also been seen to help addicts.
So people addicted to heroin are often prescribed methadone in prison, and it helps them to reduce their methadone prescription to zero, tapered off to zero. That's one great benefit.
Each practitioner works closely with the offenders, and they've noticed yoga can help people's mental well-being.
I don't think it's just the yoga session alone, although maybe that happens sometimes. But we were and still are in touch with a man who committed 2 murders and was doing a life sentence. He spent 20 years he served 20 years inside, and he went to one of our yoga classes while he was inside. And he said that in that class, he felt like he could really drop his mask and drop the pretending and begin to feel normal again and feel like a normal human being. Although even now, he still doesn't feel normal. He's been out for 6 or 7 years, 10 years actually. He still carries the guilt of his victims and their families with him all the time, every day.
Many offenders have shown their gratitude to the charity in the form of artwork and letters. They've received a letter from a man who's currently serving a sentence behind bars.
Paul is a prisoner. He's still in prison at the moment. And he has been supported by a yoga teacher for a long time who taught him at Leeds prison. And he is now, he's trained as a yoga teacher himself, and has taught informally in prison. And this is what he says about his sort of shift in his worldview as a result of his yoga practice. He says, "I'm now mentoring a blind prisoner 1-to-1. He comes to the gym 3 times a week. I've introduced him to yoga, and every Sunday morning I go to his cell and do 2 hours of yoga with him. I want to tell you, this experience is by far the best and most satisfying feeling I've ever felt."
In Oxfordshire, yoga sessions are held at Countsfield House, Huntercombe Prison, and soon to be at Bullingdon Prison. Kirstie Chambers, That's TV.